Here with columnist Bob Robb. I'm Richard Rellis. I had to get my computer repaired, so I had to come to the building, and I'm here in the newsroom for this video. And I guess, this is one of the things, Bob, we're going to wrestle with in our newsroom as well. How comfortable people will feel about sort of going back to normal. And you point out that maybe it's not lockdown, shut everything down, or open up until we get herd immunity, that there's some middle ground.
Yes, and I think particularly for businesses, and I would say for schools, there ought to be an accommodation as people make their own decisions about what risks they're comfortable with. Some people will be comfortable coming back to the office, others will be highly uncomfortable. And given all the uncertainties that still surround COVID and its different symptoms that it causes different people to have, I just think we should have maximum flexibility, not only by businesses and institutions like schools, but also government. I just don't think government making all these decisions for all of us will produce better results than providing guidance about public health and allowing people to pick their own way through some of these tough questions.
Do you think, given proper public health guidance, people, obviously they'll pick their own way. Do you think most people will pick a way that maximizes safety or minimizes the spread?
I think that there will be compliance generally with the guidance. In reality, what we have, even though we call them mandates, it's really guidance because there's no enforcement. If a bunch of people gather without masks, we don't arrest them and throw them into jail. If a restaurant is cheating on the capacity limits, virtually nothing happened. The only enforcement actions have been taken against bars. I think most people want to protect their own health and protect the health of others. So I suspect that if we switch to a guidance regime rather than a mandate regime, you wouldn't see a material difference in what people do. But we run the risk if we say government has to make all these decisions that in response to an increase in transmissions, which is inevitable anytime you open things up and allow additional social interaction, we'll have a return to a discussion of having lockdowns. And that then invites the reaction of, no, we should have no restrictions and we should try to achieve herd immunity. Whereas I think that people would actually chart a more sensible course than turning these decisions all over to government.
Yeah, and obviously the mandates and the shutdowns have caused a lot of backlash, and there's people who believe that masks don't work, and there's people who believe the virus is largely either artificially pumped up or phony. Do you think that's population that we need to acknowledge or worry about when it comes to sort of letting people set their own course, or do you think they're small enough that most of us will be okay if they?
We're not forcing compliance anyway. You don't lock people up who don't wear masks or who don't take other social distancing precautions. So de facto, we have guidance anyway, and we've got substantial compliance. I think, if anything, you might actually see an uptick in the number of people who would be willing to comply if they were advised that it's a good thing, rather than told government says you must do it this way in this sense. And I think there needs to be a greater understanding that as we open up, there are going to be increases in people getting the disease, hospitalizations, and even deaths. And we need to chart a sensible course towards what some call living with the virus. And I think we've had the lockdowns. We have found that any effect they have is transitory. And once you open up, you see an increase. So I think we need to move towards a more sustainable regime that gives people greater discretion. And I think with guidance, you won't see materially different compliance than we have now.
Yeah, so maybe instead of herd immunity, we reach herd compliance. That could be where we land. Excellent.
That'd be good.